Hey everybody, uh, I just finished the video that's already up, and I had so much fun doing it that I decided to do another one. I'm not going to go through and do a gazillion 3 videos going over every single book I got signed, but I went through and I pulled out a small selection of books that way to show you some of the stuff that I got signed, and again give you some insight to the experience I had with getting them signed. And the first one, believe it or not, is Spider-Man #1, colored by Bob Sharen. Now, I mainly had G.I. Joe signed by him because G.I. Joe is one of my favorite books, but he did the coloring for issue #1 of Spider-Man, and part of me was like, it's #1, and then I thought about how it's like, the thing about this issue is they overprinted so many copies of this that people were buying. Almost every single person was buying a comic book back then, which is 10 times what they 10 to 100 times more than what they're buying now. Everybody bought like more than one copy. So really, this, in my opinion, the book doesn't have as much value. But so for me, I wanted this one signed by Bob. And what's entertaining about it is when they were doing the meetings prior to when they were doing the phone conversations, the phone meetings prior to this book's when the book was in production. Apparently, Todd was telling Bob and the person who was lettering it how like you would be getting royalties on this book because they anticipated the sales would be so high. Well, they never got the royalties. So even though he signed the cover, if you open this up, inside along the bottom it says, "Todd, you owe me money," which apparently he does that for every single first time he signs this book. He signs these books. He was promised royalties by the creator, and he didn't get them. Now, whether Todd just didn't push Marvel to get him the royalties or what, I don't know. We're never going to know the full story. But he never got royalties off of it, so that's the reason why he wrote that. And I found that to be a very humorous story. But like I said, the main reason, I almost always, when I see Bob at the Garden State Comic Con, I always have him sign G.I. Joes because that's one of my primary books. As I joke, and I joke this, I'm very open about this, is that Star Wars and G.I. Joe are my 2 favorite series of all time. Even now, when people say derogatory things about the IDW run and whatnot, I have still enjoyed the book even when IDW was doing G.I. Joe. Up until recently, I still enjoyed the Star Wars being done by Marvel. I'll be honest though, with the current runs of Star Wars and the current run of Darth Vader, I stopped getting Star Wars altogether because the artwork was below mediocre. People say it's like Tumblr art. Honestly, I think it's below Tumblr art. I mean, unfortunately that's what I feel about the artwork in Star Wars now. I hope G.I. Joe does not get to that point that I can't buy that book because the artwork is so bad. But yes, right now, the artwork in Darth Vader is still just enough that I'll still get it on a regular basis. I'm hoping that it doesn't drop. Because, like, for instance, the Bounty Hunter series, it should be a kick-ass book, and it might be. The problem is the artwork is so bad in it, I can't justify. Even if you gave it to me for free, it'd be hard for me to take it because the artwork is that bad. So, but let's move on, okay? Another book I had signed was I met Jim Balent. First time. Remember, Jim Balent started out as one of Kim DeMolder's assistants when he was inking, and so I had him. So I didn't have a whole lot. I had like 2 issues of the Green Lantern Corps, and I had Catwoman 0 and 1, and then the one book I wanted him to sign You got it. Legends of the Dark Claw. This is when DC and Marvel got together and did their amalgamation uh, series of titles. For I think it was for 2 weeks. They had these, and so this Larry Hama did the story, and he just did a great job. It was basically just Wolverine dressed up like Batman, pretty much. You had Jubilee in it as Sparrow, and you had Wolverine in a Batman costume calling himself Darkclaw. And of course, you had the hyena with hyena and Whiteface. Because it was basically a combination of the hyena and the Joker. I'm sorry. Yes, he was called the hyena. It was Sabretooth, and Whiteface. I'm sorry. Yes, that is correct. Sabretooth with a face like Joker, so he was called the hyena. It was basically Sabretooth and Whiteface. So, but I enjoyed it, and so to have this one signed and have it added to my collection, yes, happy. If we all follow the professionals, we know that Andy Smith was talking about this. He also posted on Twitter. He posted an image. This is the issue where he did background pencils for Bart. And so it was actually really interesting. It's like Andy Smith would go through this and he's like, yeah, I did these buildings here. He goes, and he flips the page and he goes, yeah, you see all these bricks from that brick wall? This guy. And it's like he just went through page after page after page, just pointing out all this background stuff they did. So this is actually one that this is one of those books that you can always flip through now, and you'll look at it differently because of that shared experience with the creator having it signed. So again, this is the reason why you interact with them when you go to have them sign. When you go to have them sign your books, because you'll get an extra emotional attachment to what you're having signed. Rick Burchett, he did the inks for this, and one of the reasons why I wanted him to sign this is because Dan Jurgens, as good of an artist as he is, he does a lot of like basically linear work with not a lot of deep shadows. Whereas Rick goes, and you can tell here right with this flash, okay? See how the flash is like almost completely black? He really goes in, he pushes the blacks in over Dan's pencils. And that's one of the reasons why I had him sign these books. That was so well. I enjoyed it so much, and he really pushes it. And the way he was explaining it, the way I've heard other people who worked with Dan, Dan does a lot where he'll draw it, he'll light box it, draw it again, light box it again, until he finally gets it on. So his artwork can have a little bit of a stiff feel to it somewhat. Not merely completely stiff, some of that magic is gone. But I look at it this way, is if you really look at it, and that's where Dan Jurgens wants finishers. He doesn't want inkers. He wants finishers. And you can really see it in a book like this, where you see the bones of the artwork. You can see the bones. But it's one of those deals where it's like the bones are there, but the other artist, their work in some ways overpowers and enhances, to give Dan's artwork a whole new look. And so that's the reason why I had about maybe like 5 or 6 issues that he did over Dan signed. And one of the reasons why I also do it is because Justice League is one of my first, actually it is, the Justice League of America was my first team book, superhero team book, when I first got into doing really into comic books. It was Star Wars and G.I. Joe, and Justice League of America was like the first team book that I got, and I started to get on a regular basis. So I always if I have a choice between, let's say Dan Jurgens did Batman or Superman, I'm going to pick Justice League over those other 2 books. So, and then, okay. This is a really important book for me. And the reason why it's so important is because this is Vibe's very first appearance in the Justice League of America after his debut in annual number 2. Okay? Vibe is still my favorite Justice League character. He's my favorite DC character. Okay? Bill Anderson did the inks on it. Okay? If you look at both, either it would be Twitter or Facebook, you'll see the very first image I posted from the show was me with Bill Anderson signing this one. I had him actually, take a look, I had him sign it to me. Okay? That's how important this book is to me. Okay? This is one of those books where it's like, hopefully I won't be too senile that when it's time to say goodbye to the collection and the only books I'll have left are the G.I. Joe and the Star Wars, this one's getting filed in. I'm going to sneak this one in. I'm going to sneak this in, whether it be in Star Wars or G.I. Joe. Okay, this one's a lifer. Okay, I'm never going to sell this one. Okay, never, ever, ever. I mean, it's, like I said, and the character is, I mean, you look at this guy, okay? You could recreate this guy, this character, have him, I don't know, some type of time bubble or Rip Hunter pulled him out, rescued him just before he died. You could have this version, not the watered down version that Geoff Johns did. That was a piss poor version of Vibe. Okay, this version, okay? I could see him, okay, reintroduce him, and he would be in the Car Culture Club. Okay, he would have a Honda Accord that he's tricked out and tuned up like crazy. He's got his car is surrounded by like 20 women, scantily clad, gyrating, grinding around all over his car, and he's leaning up against like, yeah, I'm the goddamn man, and no one's ever going to beat me. And you know, so you think about it, like he's the one that with the whole Fast and Furious franchise. Okay, he's that car. He's not Vin Diesel in part of the crew. He's not family. Okay, he's the guy that's like, you know what, you guys have fun. Okay, I'm gonna stay here hanging out with all these hot women, working on my car, and I'm gonna smoke anybody's ass who tries to beat me. That's who that character is. That's who he was when he was created, and that's who he still is today, as far as I'm concerned. And notice, he would be the perfect character today, but because of how I described him with all the scantily clad women, he's misogynistic. So nope, we can't have him, even though he'd be a perfect Hispanic character. Okay, this one here, I gotta open it up so you can see it. First and foremost, okay, I don't know what this book is about. I don't care. I bought it because of the cover. This is the tribute to George Perez. And the first person I got to sign it, Scott Koblish. So I'm very, very nice to have him signing this. There's a couple other artists who I'm definitely going to have signing this in Baltimore. I'm going to definitely have, let's see here, right here, we got Kevin McGuire. He did there. Jose, he did here. So I'm definitely going to have signatures being added to this at Baltimore. Okay? And it has nothing to do with the book on the inside. I don't care, or I don't know anything about it. Never really even looked at it. Don't care. So, okay. Another one by Rick. This is another one I really like. The reason why I wanted him to sign this one is because the colorist. I really have a lot of respect for colorists who they stick pretty much to the flat colors and they utilize white very well. They use it as like for like where there's a harsh light source. They'll actually use white to help push that and add it like almost like a color itself. So that's the reason why I had that one added. To show you guys, Lee Weeks, right there. Had him sign it. This one by Walt, I had Walt sign it years ago. Got Lee Weeks to sign it. So this is one of those books that where it's like style, page layout, everything about the book is just phenomenal. And then lastly, okay, I met Dan for the first time, and I had him sign a bunch of books. The very first thing I had him sign was my G.I. Joes, where he did the covers. And so he was excited because he flat out said, he goes, no one, he doesn't recall anybody ever asking him to sign G.I. Joes, or at least let's put this way, definitely not at that show. Whether he gets asked to sign that a lot, or I don't know. But that I had him sign the final issue of the Snake Eyes 4-issue series, the final issue. Dan did a page on it, so I had him do that. One thing that was really, really exciting about meeting Dan was, as I didn't tell him my name, okay? I didn't introduce myself. I simply mentioned I referenced something to like basically saying I stippled, or I thanked him for being encouraging when I said I stippled. And he just glances up because I guess he was working with someone else. He was stippling Vaughn. He knew my name. And then me and him were interacting. This, that, and the other thing is very, his excitement level is very high. Okay. But then he goes, I got a story to tell you about this one. And he goes, has to do with this tattoo. And he's just about to start telling the story. And I go, yeah, Pittsburgh. And he goes, you pay attention. So he was actually gotten even more excited, because that means that I proved that I was paying attention when the bros are talking and when doing their show. So he really was excited about how I was like, oh, you do pay. So it was great. So again, it was great meeting Dan. He has so much energy, and it's like, and I watched him when he was talking to others, and he maintains that level throughout the con with each person he talks to. And I saw something he had done a Batman for someone, and I said how he likes to use that pose, this one pose, and he points at it, he goes, that's Art Adams. And he goes, you take a look at how like Wolverine, he goes, he does that a lot to really show that with foreshortening in the arms, and it really shows action. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And so it was really learned from right firsthand. Like something started to click with me, just like seeing the image upside down at the table. So, but those are some of the highlights from meeting and talking to artists. The last one I want to show you guys from the show was, I had Andy Smith sign this. This is the Cross Gens illustrated book. And I told him, okay, sign it to personalize it, okay? Sign it with, and just put in a few words. If you want to do a lot of words or a few words, describe your experience at CrossGen. Whether you want to do it right inside the cover, or whether you want to go to one of the pages that has your artwork in it, just in a few words. And he was like, yeah, I can do that, no problem. I said, whether it be a negative comment or a positive comment, he goes, I can sum it up. I can sum it up with one short statement. And give me a minute. Gotta find it. And I'm coming up on it. It was in the first, where he had the first characters. No, it's not there. Hold on. Sorry, I probably should have notated it before I started this video. But let's see here. It should be right there. No, it's not. So let's take a look. Maybe it's elsewhere in the back. Well, shoot. Well, I can't find it, but what he said was he had it basically when he signed it, he just simply said he had an awesome time working for CrossGen, which that's really nice to say that, especially when uh, those guys get joking and they make fun of it and they make fun of their experiences with it. Oh, there it is. He goes, awesome. Had lots of fun at CrossGen, which I'm now looking at this and realizing you guys are probably seeing this whole thing backwards. So, oops. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm using my phone. I just reversed the camera. I've gotta start doing better, huh? So, okay. Well, hey, I hope you enjoyed this. This Saturday, I will be at the Hershey Comic Con. Roy Thomas will be there. Howard Chaykin may be there. Howard had to bail out of the Garden State Comic Con. As I understood it, he had to bail out because his wife fell and broke her leg, so he wasn't able to make it. Al Milgrom will be there. Angel Medina will be there. I can't wait to meet Angel. I have like 2 books that as soon as I saw it was there, my brain went straight into automatic pilot. Like, oh, he's gonna be there. Well, here's the 2 books I'm definitely gonna sign, hell or high water. Sam De La Rosa will be there. Sam De La Rosa, he essentially is the linchpin for so many different books that it's like, you know, he did it. He did an issue of G.I. Joe. He did it's like 3 issues of Star Wars. You know, I have to have those signed. He's gonna have he did Squadron Supreme, and he did a couple other things. So I'm gonna be very excited. He's one of the top people on my list to have stuff signed. Richard Bonk, the guy who did the artwork for Private American, he will be there. And of course, we're going to have Kevin Conrad, David Sharp, and oh gosh, Scott Hanna, Bob Wick. Okay, if you go to Hershey Comic Con, it's in Grantville, Pennsylvania. Check it out, and hope to see you there. Okay, so until then, just take life one dot at a time.